it out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 628th edition of Energy Week with Nancy Wolf.
Hi there.
And George Harvey. Nancy's important, and there's no joke about that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, this is taken from my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. You can go there and click on the news articles that you find to get the dates of the, go to the date on the calendar. We're starting on the 5th of June. And go to the date, you'll find 15, probably 15 news articles, and you can find the one. If you go to the date, it'll be one of the 15. Or you can go to, you can scroll down or that way or whatever.
Whichever way.
Whichever way. If you go to the show on BCTV,
yeah,
the link is likely to be on the right.
Yes.
So, and that for that show, you see a URL which is called tinyurl slash. It's tiny.url/EnergyWeek628. Got it. And you know, that's where it all is. You can do that, and I guess we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We start with a picture of Fatih Birol. And
yeah.
I looked him up. That he's Turkish. That's why the name seems so weird. If he had come from a Spanish American country, or Spain, or Italy, or Portugal, or Brazil, or any of them, you know, a whole bunch of different places, he would have had a less foreign name than Fatih Birol. But
well, anyway. So this is from Renews.
Yes.
And headline here is Global Energy Investment to hit $3.3 trillion in 2025.
I have to say this is amazing to me for reasons I'll mention. The global energy investment is set to reach a record $3.3 trillion in 2025, with clean energy technologies attracting over twice the capital of fossil fuels. I'm amazed fossil fuels are expected to be even that high, to tell you the truth. This is according to the International Energy Agency. IEA Executive Director Fatih Birol said energy security is a key driver in this year's record investment levels. Security. They're going to renewable energy. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow, but they want renewable energy for security. And why is that? Well, one thing is, they didn't mention it here, but a lot of batteries. And those batteries are secure. Compared to oil, they're secure.
Right.
Compared to nuclear, they're secure. Okay, I wanted to mention something here, and that is, I saw the figure 3.3 trillion as the expected investment in energy this year, and I wanted to have something to compare that figure with. Yeah. So I looked up what is the local car global car market. That in 2024 was $2.8 trillion. So we're expecting more investment in energy this year than we had in cars last year. And one other thing to bear in mind is, who is selling all of this energy equipment? You know.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that energy security is a code word for Trump, actually, because you're trying to shore up so that you don't know what this person is about to do.
Well,
so you're just shoring up, shoring up, shoring up.
Yeah, but forget security. Who's selling energy equipment? China.
Yeah.
So $3.3 trillion, probably half of that or more is going to China. What of it is going to the United States? Well, I can tell you, it's going to be a lot less than China.
Yes.
And on top of everything else, not only are we approaching the market saying, you guys are wrong, you should be investing in what we were trying to sell you 50 years ago, you've got not only that, but you've got complete confusion resulting from tariffs.
Yes, yes, exactly.
We're not
chaos.
Chaos. The United States is basically not participating in the market.
Yep.
And we've only got people who are unwilling to look at energy to figure out what is actually going on to blame for that. I went to a shindig one evening that a friend of mine in New Jersey threw, and he is very conservative. My background is actually pretty conservative, but was very conservative. He died, unfortunately, but he had a bunch of guys there who were his guys he knew mostly from business. This was about 20 years ago. I used the term carbon footprint, and somebody says, "You believe in global warming?" And the reply that I've got to that is, if you don't believe in global warming, you are excluding yourself from the biggest business opportunity in history. And you should, even if you don't understand that there are reasons that have nothing to do with business to be concerned about this, that is something you should be concerned about. And the fruit of that tree is ripening, maybe over-ripening. Okay, going on.
Yeah, let's go on.
We have a picture of a Nanjing vertical forest in China. The article isn't about China, it's from the BBC, but it applies to China.
Yeah, so the headline here is how high-rise forests can transform city life and make us happier.
In 2007, Italian architect Stefano Boeri saw a city being built in Dubai full of skyscrapers covered in glass, ceramic, and metal. He was soon designing buildings covered with leaves. 10 years after the first were built, we see they are better in many ways, including cooler. And according to this article, they are up to 3 degrees cooler, and I believe that's probably 3 degrees Celsius, so it would be 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a big difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You have things to say about this? I'll bet you do.
Oh my, I do have things to say about this. One of the things actually that I think is pretty crucial with this is a sort of shared responsibilities. So in this article, they're talking about how you have these forests in your home and you have to work with your neighbors on taking care of this so that you all can survive.
Yeah. And that includes the rooftop, which is not somebody's balcony. Yeah. And you've all got to go out there. And the things that show up in these vertical gardens include a lot of things that, people in apartments aren't used to, like hummingbirds and butterflies and other things.
Oh, but I saw myself here, which is just seeing going between the city and Vermont and all these things is just so clear. And then, clear.
Yes. Okay, I will go on.
Yeah.
We have a picture of offshore wind power and item from Renews.
Yeah. So the headline here is ScottishPower Renewables backs charging for electric vessels offshore.
ScottishPower Renewables confirmed technical and economic feasibility of offshore charging for electric service and crew transfer vessels. MJRs. What is MJR? Analysis. That's the analysis company. Found that regular offshore and onshore charging could make electric vessels cost competitive with marine gas oil alternatives in the near future. So apparently these electric vessels are not cost competitive quite yet. But my expectation is they will be very soon. And yes. So, anything more?
No.
Okay, we're up to Friday, June 6th, and we have an item from Renews.
Yeah, so the headline here is Feather Edge Serration Cuts Turbine Noise.
Before you switch off that picture, I want to take people's attention to the left side of the rightmost blade. Right at the top of the picture, you can see these feather-like things sticking out, and that is what the article is about.
Yeah.
German developer Schierloh Engineering has successfully trialed a new noise reduction technology on one of its Enercon E160 E3 turbines. The project involved replacing the turbine's standard serrations with Feather Edge, a blade edge retrofit developed by Canadian firm Biome Renewables. Now, what's happening here is the blade has those serrations in the end to reduce noise, and they've been around for quite a while. But in this case, they're putting a new design on, which reduces the sound of these things a lot more. And I don't know how important that is, to tell you the truth. I've been to a wind farm. The sound of the gears grinding as the turbines were being adjusted to change with wind speed, wind direction rather. That sound was relatively loud. Not very loud, but relatively. It was pretty easy to hear. When I was in the parking lot, halfway between the highway and the wind turbines, I could hear the tractor trailers on the highway, and I could hear the wind turbine gears. Nevertheless, I don't think, I mean, I've lived on mountaintops, not with a nearby wind farm, but I lived in Winchester on a mountaintop, 5 miles from Route 91, and I could hear tractor trailers on Route 91, 5 miles away. I know what that's like. And I also know what it was like, because it's not there anymore, to sleep 150 feet from the Myrtle Avenue L, which went by every 15 minutes all night long in Brooklyn. Anyway, I want to point out in this picture, the first skyscraper, the home insurance building, was 10 stories tall. It was 138 feet. A typical wind turbine, and these I think are taller than this, is 330 feet at the hub with a rotor diameter of 500 feet. These things would just tower above the first skyscraper. They're big, and you can see how big when you see how tiny those trees are. And, you know, anyway, go on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go on.
We have a picture of an offshore wind vessel and the story from Renews.
Yeah, so the headline here is NBW selects Lautech for tracking vessels.
Lautech signed a contract with German energy company I'm going to say ENBW, but NBW, what you said, seems to work just as well. To provide digital tracking of crew transfer vessels, of which that is one, at its operational offshore wind farms. ENBW will employ Laut's daily progress reporting. That means that they spy on them 100% of the time.
Yes.
Wind GIS and analytics modules to improve real-time visibility of vessel movements and offshore logistics. Don't be afraid of people spying on you. I got a letter from my cardiologist yesterday or the day before explaining that my pacemaker is working fine. Why do they know that? Because they're in contact with it.
Right.
Wi-Fi. Oh, man. Do I really need that? Well, if I want to stay alive, I
maybe it's okay. It's okay in some respects, yeah.
Okay, I don't like it, though. I honestly don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now we've got a solar farm, Neoen. How do you pronounce it?
Neon?
I don't know.
Well, this one's from Renews,
yes.
And the headline is Neon opens Portugal's largest solar park.
I'm going to say Neon. I'm Neon. You're right. Opens Portugal's largest solar park, a 272 megawatt facility comprising the Rio Maio and Torre Bella solar farms. Together, the two solar farms will generate over 500 gigawatt hours of electricity each year, equivalent to the consumption of 110,000 households, according to its French developer. So
it's a lot of households.
I found this interesting because it's Portugal. And Portugal is, of all of the countries in Europe, the one that has the most reliance on solar and wind. There are countries, Norway, Iceland, Albania, that have almost 100% renewables. Albania is 100% renewables, but they're reliant on hydro. And Portugal is getting there, but it's primarily solar and wind, and they have to deal with the fallout from that power outage they had a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
But they'll get it. Okay, this is the big one. Saturday, June 7th, and an article from Clean Technica.
Yeah, so this the headline here is Quaise proof of concept demo goes live in Texas.
Well, goes live, I think, is a little bit deceptive.
Yeah.
Okay, an MIT spinoff known as Quaise proposes to use microwaves to drill holes deep enough to reach super hot zones as much as 1,200 feet underground.
Super hot zones.
Super hot zones.
Super hot.
Quaise believes there is enough heat below the surface of the Earth to generate virtually all the electricity people might need for millions of years.
Millions.
Millions. How long have people been around? Hundreds of thousands. I'm often kind of put off by this kind of thing. We've got enough heat here in this rock to keep us going for millions of years. And the thing that really bothers me about that is when they're talking about nuclear waste. And it's going to be, how long is it going to be for the nuclear waste that we have to guard it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And longer than human beings have been civilized, or longer than they've been keeping historic records.
Yes.
And okay, and what happens in that amount of time? What kinds of ridiculous things are going to develop? Here, Quaise believes they haven't got down 30 feet so far.
They believe.
They believe. Tell me you believe. I believe, I believe.
Yeah.
Tell me you believe. I believe, I believe. What do you believe? I believe you're trying to drown me. It's fine to tell people that there's lots of heat in the crust of the earth, and all we got to do is get to it. These people believe that they can use microwaves to drill, and they've shown that they can do that by the fact that they've got, I think, a foot down. They've drilled through a foot of granite. They're just starting, and maybe what they're saying is exactly correct. We shouldn't make fun of it, but we should be prepared for
millions of years. That's all.
No, I was going to say we should be prepared to walk away from this if it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, Miami Beach.
Yeah.
This is an article from Clean Technica.
Yeah. So the headline here, climate change is causing the Florida real estate market to tumble.
Yeah. That picture, by the way, was taken by a guy named Dylan Zauerwein. And Zauerwein probably means vinegar.
Right.
So, climate change has created what many are calling a perfect storm. HOA, that's Homeowners Association.
Yeah.
Insurance rate hikes triggered by extreme weather events and compounded by special assessments to pay for the required milestone work have put many condo owners out of the Florida real estate market. And I don't think it's just Florida.
Correct.
I don't know what happens in a place like Miami Beach. You've got the sea rising a good deal more than the president says it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a matter of measuring it. I don't know where he gets his figures, but you've got land subsidence, and we will get to that.
Yep.
And so here we've got the perfect storm. All you've got to do is have a coast where hurricanes come every once in a while, and you're going to have flooding, storm damage, all kinds of stuff. And on top of everything else, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is what puts money up for insurance for people who don't have access to insurance. And so if FEMA is dismantled, which is what the president wants to do,
yes,
basically the Florida real estate market is going to be uninsurable. And I think this is a perfect storm. This is a storm where if he gets his way and FEMA is dismantled, we could have a perfect storm that makes the perfect storm that hit Massachusetts look like just a little wind, because this would be backed by politics.
Yeah.
Go on?
Yeah, let's go on. Let's go on.
Oh, here we've got Tianjin.
Yeah.
And we're still on Saturday, June 7th.
Yeah, so this is from the BBC, and the headline here is cities around the world are sinking at worrying speed.
Now, I'll read the synopsis first and then comment. Dozens of coastal areas are sinking at a worrying speed. A study by Nanyang Technological University in Singapore shows. The team studied subsidence at 48 coastal cities in places that are particularly vulnerable to a combination of sinking land and seas that are rising due to climate change. Now, I will say, of these 48 cities, most of them are in Japan, China, India, and Southeast Asia.
Yeah, yes.
And they are all obviously in places where there are subsiding coasts. There are a few cities in the United States. I forget, I think New York is one. Miami is one.
So Houston, Bangkok, and London carefully regulate groundwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of complexities to this.
Yeah, this was honestly fascinating to read about. But
yeah. Yeah.
To dig or not to dig?
To dig or not to dig? Well, you can dig through granite if you've got a microwave.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Okay.
But, yeah.
We're up to Sunday, June 8th, and we have a picture of wind turbines and an item from DW.
Yeah, so this one is debunking Trump's false claims on wind energy.
Right. The U.S. president claimed that, quote, windmills are driving whales crazy, end quote, and, quote, windmills are not actually green. Actually, some of them are white. Many of them are. Maybe he's right about that. End quote, by the way. Statements then repeated on social media to bash renewable energy sources. DW's fact check, DW, by the way, is Deutsche Welle, as I recall, which means German wave. Fact check team takes the wind out of the sail of disinformation by checking some of the most viral claims. I've got 4 here, which I'll just read unless you've got something to say.
There's one. Can I read one? Here's one.
Read whichever.
Okay. There's a claim here. Trump has repeatedly said windmills are killing droves of birds.
Yes.
You want to see a bird cemetery? Walk under a windmill sometime, he said in a video that was shared.
Man.
And it has been viewed close to 1 million times. And then the fact check says misleading. Yes, birds have been killed by windmills, but what Trump fails to mention, though, is that wind turbines are a relatively small factor when it comes to bird mortality. According to an overview of median estimates of annual bird deaths by U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the main culprits in the U.S. are cats. Cats.
Well, if you want to break it down, domestic cats and
Wildcats.
Domestic cats, each of which, if you list them separately from one another, they are number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
And then tall buildings, Trump
Yes.
Tower being one.
Yeah.
And
glass buildings.
glass buildings.
All glass buildings, yeah.
When I lived in Massachusetts, I had a house that had 5 picture windows in the living room. 3 right in a row facing south, 2 right in a row facing west. And of course, you could look from one straight through to the other. Mm-hmm. And I had a cat, very nice cat. And he would just go out and sit under the west facing windows and wait for the bird to fall. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, there was a way I could prevent that, which was to draw the curtains. But really, I would not want to be a bird in today's world. We've got to do something about helping birds. Windmills driving whales crazy. Okay. Windmills are a con and not green. That's misleading. And windmills are not working or are inefficient. And that one, this DW article just says is flat out false. So, okay.
Yep.
I can't read that. What does it say for the time?
Oh, we're at 28:39.
Oh, good. We're right on schedule.
We're right on schedule. And this one is from Daily Tribune.
I don't know what that means, but that's where I found it.
Yeah. The headline here is ASIN grows footprint with Cagayan solar bid.
ASIN Corp, a unit of Ayala Group, expanded its renewable energy footprint in North Luzon. Now you know where it is. Luzon is one of the bigger islands in the Philippines. With now operating 133 megawatt Cagayan North Solar Project in Lalo, Cagayan. developed with Cleantech Renewable Energy 4 Corp. Why do they have a numeral like that in their name?
4.
And, you know, the Germans do this. It drives me crazy. They have names that start with lowercase letters.
Yeah.
And, you know, it doesn't make sense. So if you're going to use it as the first word in an article, the first word in a sentence, do you leave it in lowercase?
Yes.
Yeah, you're supposed to. The facility generates 188 gigawatt hours of electricity annually. I think they should be capitalized. And if the people who have that kind of name don't like it, then my reply to whatever they have to say is just put it in uppercase. Man, I'm sorry. I think that it looks ugly and confusing when you start a sentence with a lowercase letter. Okay.
Okay.
So, oh, I love this picture. I don't know why I love this picture, but I do. This is from Clean Technica. This is a bayou channel. This is not named bayou channel. It's just a channel in the bayou.
Yes. So the headline here, well, this is from Clean Technica, and the headline is insurance companies canceling homeowner insurance are supporting LNG terminal.
Okay, the same insurance companies that are refusing to insure homes in many areas of this country because of climate-related risks are doubling down on insuring liquid natural gas terminals that will make global heating worse. Talk about two-faced. Yeah, talk about two-faced. This channel, the reason I chose to put that up is because it is a bayou channel in Louisiana. And Louisiana is made up very largely of bayous. This is a large percentage. And these bayous, they're in Texas and Arkansas, Mississippi. They go up the Mississippi River here and there. And there's some in Illinois. There's some, I think, possibly in Indiana and Michigan. A bayou is just a swamp of a particular kind. But the insurance companies, what the article is driving at is the insurance companies are in this just for immediate money, and they're not regulating their own participation in the things that cause climate change. They're not willing to participate in the results of climate change.
Nope.
But you know, they are willing to participate in the things causing it. And I have a little story here that I just want to explain. I got very interested in the Atchafalaya River in the 1980s, and the reason was because I saw it and thought, what's going on here? And when I looked, I discovered that at the top of that river, which is almost it's quite a ways from the sea. It's a couple hundred miles. There's a dam, and the dam was being undermined. And the Atchafalaya River, the Red River, comes from the west and goes to the Mississippi, goes east to the Mississippi. 2 miles before it hits the Mississippi, it gets to the Atchafalaya. And the Atchafalaya River, early on in American history, the Atchafalaya River was blocked by jams of tree trunks and things like that. And a man whose name was Shreve, Henry Miller Shreve, contracted to open up the waterway. He was Shreveport, Louisiana, which is the third largest city in the state, was named after him, and he opened it up so that steamboats could go up the Atchafalaya River from Morgan City up to the Mississippi. Well, water started flowing through that river, and every year a little bit more did, until the Red River wasn't reaching the Mississippi. It was just going down the Atchafalaya. Then, as more time went by, the Mississippi started going down the Atchafalaya. They put that dam in, and then in the 1980s it turned out that the dam was being undermined, and if the Army Corps of Engineers didn't act very quickly to stop that, the Mississippi could suddenly divert so that it would flood Morgan City and leave Baton Rouge and New Orleans without water. So they did that, and things have been under control for a long time now. But I wanted to tell that story because it tells what can happen when somebody gets a great idea and pursues it. And it's a great idea. And they don't think through what the consequences are. And if the United States was ever in a time when it doesn't think through consequences, that time is probably right now.
Yeah. Yep.
But, here it was, good idea, and it caused a lot of mischief. Now, Morgan City wouldn't be what it was if the Atchafalaya hadn't been opened up, but that's beside the point. Okay. I still can't see that. What are we?
35.
35. Okay. Right on schedule. Monday, June 9th. We're up to Monday, and we've got an article from ET Energy World.
Yeah, so the headline here is Solar Surpasses Nuclear for First Time, Contributes 10% of Global Power in April.
Solar power generated 10% of global electricity in April of 2025, its highest ever monthly share, and for the first time it overtook nuclear energy according to Ember's Electricity Data Explorer. Solar power has also passed wind power for the first time on record. This is a development that we saw coming. I mean, it was just a development. Wind power is on its way up, but nowhere near as fast as solar is. And, there's a lot of, every day, I see article after article after article. Today I probably saw 50 of them. And I'm not exaggerating with that. I look at maybe 300, 400 articles a day doing the blog. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm usually done with the blog and all the subsidiary stuff at about 8:30. So, that's the way, and that's 7 days a week, and I haven't taken a day off since 2012. But these articles on nuclear power, I would say probably 95% of them are saying we need nuclear power. Nuclear power is how we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And they ignore certain things that are just going on in nuclear power that are going on. One of them is nuclear power is so expensive, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And another is it takes forever to build a nuclear power plant. And Donald Trump has said he wants the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to finish its work on authorizing the construction of a nuclear power plant in 18 months. But the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is not the only organization doing this.
No, and we are going to get to that specific one too. We're going to get to that one.
And the other thing is we could compare this to other places, and other places, with certain exceptions, if the Chinese want a nuclear power plant up, they'll get it up in 5 or 6 or 7 years by taking whatever shortcuts they want to take. And I don't know much about that, but they put up nuclear power that's a lot cheaper. Okay, we should go on to nuclear power. We've got this. This is a picture of the Byron nuclear power plant. Yeah. We were just looking at solar power, which had taken over from nuclear, but there's the Byron plant. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. I had a picture image thing. Okay, so the headline on this one is Westinghouse pursues $75 billion U.S. nuclear expansion by 2030. FT reports.
Do you think they'll be able to do that?
No.
Neither do I.
No, not
Okay,
at all.
this is from KCCI. Westinghouse Electric Company, which by the way went broke, but got revived because it was bought. That's what happened. Somebody bought it. Somebody in Japan bought it. And so it's sort of an American company. It's in talks with U.S. officials and industry partners about deploying 10 large nuclear reactors, according to the Financial Times. The reported talks follow President Donald Trump's May 23 executive orders directing the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to reduce regulations.
Yeah, what I thought was amusing about this?
What's that?
Which is how much they talk about the importance of financing. They're saying, Westinghouse is saying, oh, we think it's really important you guys think about how you're going to pay for us to make this money.
Yeah.
Like that
they can't do it themselves.
Exactly. That's the point. And that's my point is that they're not going to, because this is literally what they're saying. They're saying, oh well, we're hopeful that we can find money.
$75 billion.
Yeah, we're hopeful that you'll give us that money.
Well, I will tell you something. Yeah. I am not going to tell them about having $75 billion in my mattress. I never lie. I don't know who has $75 billion. Maybe Elon Musk. Maybe he'd like to lose that money. I don't know what's going to happen with the nuclear expansion, but I don't think it's going to happen the way anybody thinks it's going to happen. How about that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go on. We're up to pictures of dandelions and buttercups in an article from BBC.
Yeah. So the headline here is it better to neglect your garden?
When she's not leading garden-based learning at the School of Integrated Plant Science of Cornell University, Ashley Louise Miller Helmhold likes to garden and has several gardens of her own. Quote, I have a little garden plant that's just wild, she says, end quote, she says. Quote, I have a native plant and pollinator garden, so I have a little bit of everything, end quote. That's what it sounds like where I live.
I'm having a trouble with the mouse. It seems to have switched screens. Oh, I'm trying to get us back to this one so I can actually switch. Oh, here we are. There's the mouse. Oh, it's wonderful. Now we have the mouse.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now we can switch cameras.
Okay. We have, and a lot of people in Brattleboro are doing this, where they're 10 years ago, if you had milkweed, chances are you were trying to eradicate it.
Right.
Today, if you have milkweed, it's left and carefully guarded. And the only thing that's allowed to disturb the milkweed, and you consider it lucky if you've got it, is monarch caterpillars.
Well, I also enjoyed this art. Yes, I literally I said it's very Vermont.
You have to be careful about this, though, because milkweed, although it looks nothing like dog strangling vine, is related to dog strangling vine. Have you ever heard of dog strangling vine? Neither had anybody else in Brattleboro 5 years ago, but we've got it. And dog strangling vine, I don't know how it got its name. It never strangled a dog, I'm sure, but it is related to milkweed. Monarch butterflies can't tell the difference. They deposit their eggs on the dog strangling vine and the caterpillars die because they can't live on it. It's very sad.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, people in Brattleboro are interested in doing exactly what this woman is doing.
Oh, definitely.
And, we're talking about energy and climate change here, but we should make people know that we could save monarch butterflies if we would, all have that kind of approach to gardens where everybody allows milkweed to grow. And if we put certain business is out of business. And what I'm referring to there is the business that turns almost all of our cornfields into very shallow toxic waste dumps. Because chemicals that are put on cornfields are toxic.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, whoops, too far. There we go. Solar module plant, that guy who's in that solar plant making solar modules does not look happy to me.
Well, this is from PV Magazine International, and the headline here is Tata Power hits 4 gigawatts of solar module production capacity.
TP Solar Limited, the manufacturing unit of Tata Power, and a wholly owned subsidiary of Tata Power Renewable Energy Limited, made over 4 gigawatts of solar modules at its facility in Tamil Nadu, which is a state in India. As of May 31st, 2025, the plant has made 4,049 megawatts of solar modules and 1,441 megawatts of solar cells. Now, I believe that what they're doing here is they're reporting what was made in the last year. The fiscal years in India end in March, I think. So I think that's what that is. We are going to get back to making solar modules. So let's go on.
Yeah.
This is a scientist at work and an article from Clean Technica.
Yeah, the headline here is Call It Scienticide, Brain Drain, or Anti-Intellectualism. The U.S. is losing its futurists.
What happens when thousands of U.S. scientists lose their jobs or grants? They need to look at every option. The idea of relocation may be necessary for scientists as the year evolves. Not able to wait, U.S. scientists are applying for jobs abroad in record numbers. This is how you make America great again. Figure out how to keep the scientists here.
We worked so hard to get them here. Well, you know,
I can tell you, India is just one of a long list of countries that are really happy to have scientists from the United States move to where they are.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yep.
This is, it's disturbing.
It is.
I'm going to go on. We have a picture of a wind farm. Whoops. Wind farm.
Yeah. So this one's from Renews.
Yes.
And the headline is Shoreline brings AI platform to onshore wind market.
Shoreline Wind has entered the onshore wind market with a full-scale planning, construction, and O&M platform. With an established offshore wind platform, Shoreline now brings its simulation-first approach to the onshore wind market for developers, operators, and service providers. Now, I have experience with artificial intelligence. I am the person who found it first. I didn't invent it, I discovered it. It had already been accidentally invented, I think.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that was because I found it and recognized it in the form of artificial malice. Since then, I have seen artificial foolishness come along. Artificial laziness has come along. You know, you just name it, it's there.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I feel. I don't feel happy about artificial intelligence, and I really wonder whether that's the way. I mean, we have to go that way in some respects, but I hope it doesn't turn into artificial.
See, I would go all the way to saying, hopefully, well, yeah, I am of the extreme other. Yeah, I am of the yeah.
The what?
The it's a bomb. AI is a bomb. That's all.
It's a bomb.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I think it might as well be. Yeah, I'm not happy about it. Let's look at something else.
Yes.
Here we have a dolphin.
Yes, we
And
do.
an article from BBC.
Yeah, so the headline here is Oceans Cannot Become Wild West, warns UN chief.
It is a key aim of the now running UN Waters Conference to get 60 countries to ratify a high seas treaty and thus bring it into force. One aim of the conference is to take a stand on unregulated mining of the deep sea. It should not be allowed to go ahead, the head of the UN has warned. The head of the UN, by the way, is Antonio Guterres. So that's who's talking here. So what he's referring to, one of the things they're referring to, and we talked about this last week, is the nodules that are found on the ocean floor. And they've got little submarine things that'll go around and pick them up and put them in a basket so they can be drawn up. It is an extremely efficient form of mining and not as destructive as some forms. But nevertheless, that doesn't mean it should be done.
Yeah.
I'm put in mind of a open pit lignite mine that was proposed after this show started coming on the air, and I don't know what became of it, but it was in what had been East Germany, near the Polish border, and it was about twice as big as the island of Manhattan. So this is gigantic, and they're just digging a hole in the ground. And what is being destroyed in the process? Forests, farms, medieval towns, some of which still had buildings dating from the Middle Ages. And we're throwing all of this away in order to make money. And, you know, when we get to be my age, you sit there and you say, money? Did I do that for money? Why did I do that for money? Well, I don't say that because I don't have any money. But, you know, it's just the way it is. All right, how much time have we got on that?
Oh, we got 51.
51.
52.
52. So we can go to this next one, ABC News.
Yeah. So the headline here is Emperor Penguins show dramatic decline. Satellite photos show.
Oh. What did you say that a penguin is?
It's a canary in the coal mine.
Yeah. The population of emperor penguins, and I want to point out this is just emperor penguins. Other penguins may or may not have this problem. The ones that live in the Galapagos Islands probably don't have this problem. They may have other problems, but not this one. The population of emperor penguins is in one part of Antarctica. It appears to be declining faster than had been thought, according to an analysis of satellite imagery. Between 2009 and 2024, the population of 16 colonies declined 22% due to climate change reducing sea ice. Well, naturally, if the sea ice is melting, they're not going to be able to live on it anymore. I feel sorry for these birds. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I said, there are others that it's interesting to see, by the way, what they do with their wings. Have you ever seen these guys swim? Mm. They're incredibly fast. They are incredibly fast. And I've seen pictures of, oh, I forget what the animal was that was after one of these things, but it was chasing, and these things just go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, we're up to our last story, our last image.
Yeah. So this is from Clean Technica, and the headline is U.S. adds 8.6 gigawatts of solar manufacturing capacity, one of its strongest quarters of growth ever.
The U.S. solar industry added 8.6 gigawatts of solar module manufacturing capacity in the first quarter of 2025, marking its third highest quarter of new manufacturing capacity on record. The surge comes from 8 factories in Texas, Ohio, and Arizona. Ohio was a swing state, but Texas and Arizona are both red states. There's a lot of solar manufacturing going on in this country. I looked to find out how much total, and it seems to me that it's like 50 gigawatts. This is the amount of capacity that is made in the plant every year. In the first quarter of this year, we added 8.6 gigawatts. That is an immense amount. That means that these plants are able to turn out enough solar modules to equal the generating capacity of maybe 1.5 large nuclear power plants. That's every year. But that is every year by the capacity that was added in the first quarter. You do that every quarter, and you're going to be turning out enough solar panels to give us the equivalent of 6 new nuclear power plants every year. And again, I know that there are people who don't like the way solar panels look, and when I think of, well, I think of what would I say if somebody came to me, and I lived across the street from a field. The owner of the field came to me and said, okay, I'm going to do something with that field, and I'd like to know your preference. Should I have a solar installation covering that field, or should I have a housing project, or should I have corn, conventional corn? Okay, my third choice would be conventional corn.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, a conventional corn field is basically a very shallow toxic waste dump. And the waste leaches out of it and it poisons everything around, including any stream or river that happens to be there. I know that if I ask the farmer, that solar you were talking about, is that going to be agrivoltaic? Are you going to have pollinators under the panels? Are you going to have sheep grazing? That sort of thing. That's where I would go. That's where I would want to go. That's what I would like. And,
The sheep are happy.
Sheep apparently are happier under the solar panels than they are out in the open. They produce better wool.
Yeah.
And they have as much or more to eat because the grass grows just as well or better under the solar panels. And if people don't want arsenic and cadmium and things like that in the solar panels that are put over farm fields, it would be very easy just to have a law that says if you're going to grow food under the solar panels can't have these things in them, because the majority of the solar panels sold in the United States don't have those things in them.
Yeah.
And there are reasons why a person would want those things in a solar panel, but they are reasons that have to do with high temperatures like Vermont doesn't have. So we don't need to worry about that.
No.
I mean, we can pass a law, but there it is. So, have an pronounce it please.
Incontrovertibly gorgeous week.
There you go. Thank you very much, Nancy. And I'm going to, we'll wave goodbye.
Bye.
And that's that.
That's that.